Interestingly enough, there's been some rather illuminating information the past 24 hours, if you're not aware, which I will do my best to report to you um, as best I can. Still trying to ascertain whether the information that's coming out is legitimate, whether it's reported without bias, um, and whether the person disseminating the information is reputable. All these things are under question right now. So, like I said, I'm going to do my best to disseminate it here for you. Um, in the past 24 hours, there was a video that's been circulating the internet, especially from right-wing pundits, regarding a former alleged CIA whistleblower by the name of Howell Parrot. He is a falconer, and he's allegedly has met many high-level sheikhs in Saudi Arabia, Iran, and has led him to meet other nefarious people, even from the terrorist underworld. There's a documentary that's posted on YouTube. I don't know if it's going to be up for long. That is called Feathered Cocaine, which was filmed in 2010, in which shows a much more younger version of Alan Pro. He looks to be about in his late 70s. Very grandfatherly look, has a long white beard. He's dressed in his falconry outfit. I believe he is also a Buddhist of some sort. But don't hang me there. I don't know his religious take, but he wears a long dress garb, and people have been making fun of him, especially people from the left who are saying, "Oh, this guy's a whack job. He looks like a wizard." Not everything he's saying is incorrect. This is what made me interested about this story, because at first I, too, was very suspicious. This is coming from right-wing pundits who are slamming Obama, Biden, Hillary, and that's disingenuous at best. I'm going to tell you what. Regarding the history of this guy, whether he's with the CIA or not, he did meet with some high-level people, and he was actually well known in the intelligence services. He has done previous interviews, and he's been before a House Select Committee regarding the information that he ascertained over a period of time. And so it seems that this guy, Perot, did a video conference interview with Charles Woods. Charles Woods is the father of Tyrone Woods. Tyrone Woods, who was killed in the Benghazi attack in September 12, 2012. There's a lot of history behind that. I'm not going to make a video regarding about that. But there is and this is something I'm going to upload on my channel, the Benghazi intelligence report. Right now, I'm in the middle of uploading Iran-Contra, which is going to take another week or two to upload because there's still like 12 more days left of uploads there. But next up is going to be the Benghazi Intelligence Committee, which I'm going to upload. So basically, I'm going to skip over that, gloss over that, because that's going to take a long time. But I got a lot to say here regarding this issue of Alan Howell Parrot and the information that's coming out. Now, there is a right-wing pundit by the name of Anna Kite. I hope I'm not butchering her name, although I find it to be quite suspicious coming from people who are espousing political reviews. Look, I'm not right, I'm not left, I'm not Christian, I'm not Jew, I'm a secularist, although I'm not anti-religious. So I'm not prejudiced along these human constructive line. So I'm not coming at you with any type of political, religious, or racial view. So what I'm doing is that I'm trying to discern information that is right and wrong without espousing any human construct in between that would prejudice my view regarding the information. Okay, so Anna had posted the documents that were given to her through another party that knew Perot. Okay, I don't know who the third party is, but anyway, she posted this information on her link, documents, files, and even an audio recording. Now, this is an alleged phone call between Perot and Congressman Kurt Weldon, who at the time of the audio was not a congressman. He lost in 2006. The nature of the call is regarding Osama bin Laden being alive in Iran and then moved to Pakistan, where he was killed by SEAL Team 6. This is where I'm going to concentrate the video on, okay? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion regarding this point. So this audio is allegedly a phone call between Alan Perot, the CIA whistleblower. Whether he was at the CIA, we don't know yet. And between Kurt Weldon, Republican out of Pennsylvania, as well as, I'm drawing a blank here, bin Laden's lawyer, Ettinger, Brian Ettinger, sorry. So Brian Ettinger, who comes into the phone call, it's a 12-minute audio, by the way, in which I wonder if I should link. I'll link that in the bottom of my the comments section. So this is the bombshell, alleged bombshell. In the audio, it sounds a little off. I don't dismiss it. I can't dismiss it logistically. I can't right now legitimately dismiss it as not being a phone call because I have no evidence to suggest so. It sounds suspicious. Let's just say that. So I'm going to leave it as a phone call. Okay? It's a phone call. But if you listen to the audio, it doesn't sound like he's talking into a phone. It sounds like he's talking into, like, say, a monitor. Because there's a discrepancy between the voice reverberations between Perot and Weldon and Ettinger. But I don't dismiss it yet. But the phone call goes that Perot is, who's close friends with Kurt Weldon, by the way, is talking with Weldon, and he's telling him about Osama bin Laden being held in detention in Iran and then moved to Pakistan, where he was under house arrest in Iran. And he was under house arrest in Pakistan in 2010 when he was moved, but I think he was moved somewhere between 2009 2010 to Pakistan, where they had him under house arrest. A little bit about that. Now, to go back in history about bin Laden after 9/11. He is in Afghanistan. And after 9/11, he does broadcasts in Afghanistan. He also does 2 interviews. One of them is with Taysir Alouani. Now, that interview is on my channel, and you could look it up. If it's still there, I think it's still there. I have 1,200 videos. I didn't check, but I believe I uploaded it. But if not, I will. Where he does an interview talking about the attacks, the military invasion of Afghanistan by the U.S., and that the 9/11 attacks made him a terrorist. He doesn't deny the attacks either, but he doesn't come right out and say that he was involved. He just says that the United States has implied that I'm within the attacks, but the attacks were right. But there is another video that was found in Jalalabad where he's with Suleiman Abu Ghaith, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and Khalid al-Harbi, and he basically is talking about 9/11 attacks and how he selected the pilots. Not to say that he's the orchestrator of the attacks, which he wasn't. It's alleged that's Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, which I believe to be the case. Does that mean they were alone? No. Anyway, back to bin Laden. He flees Afghanistan because the U.S. has invaded. He goes into Pakistan. He's not safe there, however. The ISI is still has a tentative relationship with the CIA, and so he's basically in Tora Bora. One of the largest CIA operations in history is led by Gary Bernstein, and the name of the operation is Jawbreaker. CIA Jawbreaker, led by Gary Bernstein, in which he served as the commander of, where he was the director of operations. And he led the largest counterterrorism deployment regarding bin Laden's alleged capture, where he was trying to capture bin Laden. I believe it was like 150 or 200 agents and people from special ops were involved. And he wrote a book in 2005 in which he did so. It's a really good book. I haven't read it yet, but it is really one of the. It's in my Amazon basket, by the way. I would recommend the book because Gary Bernstein's a real deal. I do have Gary Bernstein in a C-SPAN video uploaded onto my playlist. Really good book, I heard. Got rave reviews from everybody. So anyway, Bernstein would write later that leaders, especially Cofer Black, the Counterterrorism Center, and Henry Crumpton, they were willing to execute a plan with really risky missions. And that's why George Senya hired Cofer Black to head the CTC, because he was a real like get dirty type of covert operator. He was involved with the capture of a terrorist in the 80s. I'm drawing a blank. Carlos the Jackal, who was a known terrorist, and he was involved with that. So Cofer Black devised a plan to capture Osama bin Laden, in which Cofer Black also previous in a couple of years wrote an operation in which he wanted to try and operate base stations in Kandahar, where there was a Kandahar training camp, and try to recruit al-Qaeda operatives as informants. But he wasn't successful in that, although there is a legend coming from Richard Clarke that the reason why the CIA didn't share information with the FBI was that about Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wafa Hazmi, who were suspected to be involved with the hijacking of American Airlines 77, which crashed in the Pentagon, was that they were trying to recruit them. I question that, however, because if they were trying to get recruits inside Al-Qaeda, they could just go to the Mukhabarat, which is the intelligence services of Lebanon, Libya, or the Saudi GID or the Pakistan ISI, where they have Arabic speakers, Farsi speakers. They could infiltrate Al-Qaeda, which what they did. Ayman Dean wrote a book called 9 Lives, in which he states that he was an operative inside British MI6, and he actually infiltrated Al-Qaeda and met with Osama bin Laden and Abu Hafs al-Masri, who's the military commander-in-chief, also known as Mohammed Atef. So, and this is how they gather intelligence about certain operations, where they collect intelligence internally within this group and know about the operation before it even happens, or even allow it to happen in order to obtain even a broader goal geopolitically. And so with bin Laden trapped inside the schoolhouse, a townhouse in Tora Bora, and the CIA, led by Gary Bernstein, in which had him surrounded, basically, except for that he had a back door into the valleys, the cold valleys of Pakistan, the mountainous valleys. Bernstein actually calls a Joint Special Operations Command. It says that whether he has the okay, because he's about maybe 100, 200 meters approximately away from the target to go and physically capture bin Laden and his Al-Qaeda, which in fact it was about maybe 90 to 100 cars, jeeps deep of Al-Qaeda members. But you have you have members of the Northern Alliance, Afghan insurgents, as well as the CIA and Special Operations Command involved in the race. A lot of these people surrounded, and they're well armed. He gets a no-go at the last second. And allegedly, a cargo plane comes and picks up bin Laden and he leaves. Or there's another story that his caravan of jeeps is allowed to have almost this like clear road to leave into Pakistan. That in itself led him to basically question whether they wanted to capture bin Laden or not, because here was a great chance under the Bush administration in 2001 where he could have captured bin Laden himself. In fact, we've in past instances in Pakistan, we captured Ramzi Yousef, who is allegedly the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and was involved with the Bajinka plot. We captured Ramzi bin al-Sheikh and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who were behind the orchestration of the September 11th attacks involving hijacking the airlines and crashing them into American targets, with the help of the Pakistan ISI, even though they're nefariously known to conduct and or to involve themselves with terrorist operatives like Jaish-e-Mohammed, which was created by the ISI, and they're quite friendly with Al-Qaeda themselves and the Taliban as well. But we have, like I said, we have a tentative relationship with their intelligence services. I wrote an article, which I'll link below, regarding the history of the ISI and nefarious history it is. So basically, going back now, with bin Laden now escaping into Pakistan, knowing that his time is short, he basically is with his family, part of his family anyway. He's a large family. So he has some of his wives and some of his sons, and he basically says that that he's no longer safe. And so there's connections regarding whether he can go into a country and is welcome. Well, in 2017, there's an article written by Adrian Levy and Kathy Scott Clark for the Atlantic, in which they did a 5-year report regarding bin Laden's Al-Qaeda network having contacts with a covert special forces command in Iran, Qud al-Quds, which is a special operations force under the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Allegedly, a contact with Al-Qaeda had met with members of the Al-Quds force. And so this contact with a suitcase full of money basically met with members of the Al-Quds force. And this contact is Abu Muhammad al-Masri, who meets with members of the Al-Quds force. And allegedly meets with one Qasim Soleimani, who's the commander, the general of the force. I'm sorry, the person that he meets with is now al-Masri, but Mahfouz ibn al-Walid, who goes by Abu Hafs al-Mauritana. So I got them mixed up. So I'm correct. It's Mahfouz ibn al-Walid. Walid goes and pays off the Al-Quds commanders there, and basically, little by little, the members of the Al-Qaeda and bin Laden family start entering Iran using the Tehran port. And so a large contingent of these people now, according to the video by Parrot, this is true, that basically over 100 members of al-Qaeda go into the southern border of Iran. However, this is the misconception now. According to the Atlantic report, this actually happened. And that, according to report, in which I'll quote, quote, but even at the point, the future was all not as certain for al-Qaeda's clerical and military leaders in Iran, and certainly not for bin Laden's family. The al-Quds force continued offering to hand over all of them to the United States at discreet meetings in Switzerland that took place up until April of 2003, and the White House continued to decline. Now, where I go, now that's an end quote, and I'll link that article at the bottom of the description. And so why is this important? Because the right-wing pundits who are purporting the information are basically saying this is a reason why it's a Obama-Biden fault here, that it was Biden who declined Perot's invitation to go and capture bin Laden under the I think it was called the hostage, or the, I forgot the name of it. I can't think. My mind is shot, by the way. We're trying to remember like a million things. But Parrot basically was trying to capture bin Laden and receive the rewards that would come from it. I forgot the rewards name, or the title of it, regarding bin Laden's, I think it was like $25 or $50 million. So he went to Leon Panetta, who was the CIA director at the time under the Obama administration, and Panetta basically said he would decline. In fact, if Parrot actually went there and tried to capture him, he would warn the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, which they would imprison him and torture Parrot, by the way. But that's Parrot saying that to Charles Woods in the interview. So basically, the information coming from these right-wing pundits is stating that the SEAL team that was involved in capturing bin Laden was the same SEAL team that was killed in the Chinook operation, which took place on August 6, 2011. Now, the bin Laden raid was May 1st, 2011. However, there is a misconception here, misreporting of the teams. Basically, the SEAL team, which is comprised of many teams, is basically called the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or commonly known as DevGRU, in short, DEVGRU, which is Development Group, commonly known as SEAL Team 6. However, there are multiple units within SEAL Team 6. And this is where the right-wing pundits get this wrong. Okay, so to inform you about the number of groups here, I'm going to tell you there's 7 of them, and they're all color-coded. And there's color-coded squadrons. The Red Squadron is the assault squadron. They're Tribe Apaches, Redmen. The Blue Squadron, which is an assault squadron, Pirates and Bones. The Gold Squadron is another assault squadron. They're Knights Crusaders. The Silver Squadron, assault squadron, they're Headhunters. The Black Squadron, which are intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance. Gray Squadron, which are mobility teams, transportation drivers, transportations, and divers. And Green Squadron, which are selection training. And these are all led by a commander, divided into 3 troops of enlisted SEALs, often called as assaulters. And they're led by a lieutenant commander, an O4. So there are a number of these squadrons. Now, the SEAL team that was involved with the bin Laden raid was Red Squadron. And this is reported by Robert O'Neill, who is involved with the bin Laden raid. He's allegedly the guy who shot Osama bin Laden. And he tweeted yesterday, Robert J. O'Neill, that to this right-wing pundit, Anna Kate, that every SEAL team from the UBL mission is still alive while you're reading this. The members of the Chinook shoot-down in the Tanjung Valley in Warduk, the province of Afghanistan, Warduk province of Afghanistan, was the Gold Squadron. They were not involved with the bin Laden raid. They were a different squadron. And so where these right-wing pundits are blaming that it was Obama and Biden under Hillary's orders as well to kill the members of the squadron because they were involved with the bin Laden raid is false. And how they are claiming that it was ordered under Obama and Joe Biden is unreal information, right? So I don't know whether this information is even going to come out, which, according to these right-wing pundits, it's slowly being dripped out because they don't want to give it all out right away, and which one of these channels is offering a paywall, in which I think Perot is actually asserting that, suggesting that there's a paywall involved, which is suspicious at best. So this whole story regarding Perot's involvement with trying to capture bin Laden, there's some legitimacy to it. But how deep he's within regarding this issue of bin Laden being alive and they killed a double, which is what they're purporting now, that there was a double that was killed in the house in Jalalabad, Pakistan. At first, when I first heard the story, I said they killed a double, but then it seems to me that they actually did kill bin Laden, but not in the sense that that we were told. A lot of disinformation here, a lot of misinformation here. We still don't know what really went down. I happen to think that they actually killed bin Laden, not to bring him back, because look, like I said before, if they actually went and captured Ramzi Youssef, who was a lot more elusive than bin Laden, and they went and captured Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who's a heck of a lot more elusive than Ramzi Youssef, is a lot more mysterious, as well as Ramzi bin al-Shib. You sure as heck could capture a guy who's 6'6", who is basically limping at this point. He's in his late 60s, and he's under house arrest. You can definitely capture the most wanted man in the world and bring him back for justice inside the United States, unless they didn't want to, because he would have something to say that would go against the official narrative. Get where I'm going with this? Also, the timing of this is quite suspicious. We're weeks away from the election. Get it? And basically, Donald Trump retweeted this right-wing pundit, Anna Kite, onto his timeline. Not to say that I'm an anti-Trump or whatnot. I think the whole U.S. government is corrupt, left and right. So I'm not coming at you with any left or right paradigm. What I'm saying is this. For those people who are basically taking the word of this guy, Alan Perot, take it with a grain of salt. Be careful. Stop repeating or posting these right-wing pundits who are basically reporting a misnarrative because they're coming at it from a political prejudice point of view. Understand? If you're going to blame Obama and Biden because they didn't want to capture bin Laden while he's in Iran, well, guess what? That started under the Bush administration, in which I'm going to show started with the Atlantic posting that story in 2017. I'll link you to it. You can read it yourself. Yes, The Bush and Obama administration are basically one and the same. There is no left and right paradigm when it comes to certain issues, especially regarding foreign policy, the Pentagon, and issues regarding this, Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda. There is no left and right paradigm here. Why is that? Is it because that maybe that the intelligence services led by the CIA are basically covering for Bin Laden? Maybe. I'm not saying that they are, but I've done so many videos regarding, and that's why I uploaded the 9/11 Commission Joint Analysis Report for you to view, showing that the CIA certainly were up front with the State Department before the 9/11 attacks. You don't think that was happening after 9/11 attacks? They certainly didn't share the information regarding the 9/11 operatives inside the United States with the FBI. Why is that? Was it really because they were trying to get informants inside Al-Qaeda, knowing that these guys were involved with Khalid al-Mir and Nawaf al-Hazmi, were involved with the East Africa embassy bombings to some extent, and the USS Cole bombing? These guys were dangerous. And Mark Bussini and Doug Miller and other FBI agents have come out and said, Colleen Rowley, Harry Samad, Minneapolis, they've come out and said that their superiors basically ignored warnings for years that you had Al-Qaeda and Arab subjects inside the United States learning to fly airplanes and for nefarious reasons. And that goes all the way back to Bajinka Plot. And if you want to go further, even further back, going back to Abu Nidal. Operatives inside this country for years under the intelligence watch. We had Bin Laden in our sights. We never left it. The CIA has kept a file on Bin Laden since Afghanistan, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979, before Al-Qaeda was even created. And so what I'm trying to tell you is this, is that regarding the information that's coming out now, do yourself the favor and please leave your political affiliations on the side and act as a responsible investigator, as a responsible journalist. This is not just a Obama-Biden problem. This is not just a Bush problem. This is a U.S. government intelligence agency foreign policy problem involving numerous countries. And the reason why we're enemies to certain Arab countries is basically it is obvious who leads our foreign policy inside the United States. Who has lobbies inside our United States catering to their agendas? Do I need to spell it out for you? Saudi Arabia and Israel. Why did we invade Iraq for the 9/11 attacks? They had nothing to do with 9/11. Why are we enemies with Iran? They had nothing to do with 9/11. Here they house arrested Al-Qaeda and Bin Laden and tried to hand him over in 2004, and the U.S., which was led by George Bush, declined. So why are these right-wing pundits basically blaming just Obama for this? Use your head. Be responsible. And that's what this channel is all about. To basically be responsible researcher and journalist. And don't look at this through a divisive political lens. Because that's where you make that mistake. And you allow the real guilty parties, the ones that seemingly allowed this to happen, of allowing Bin Laden to escape and protecting him and allowing the 9/11 attacks to happen, as well as the 93 bombing, which could have been prevented. Even the Khobar Towers bombing. even the U.S. Embassy bombings. You just have to go back and puzzle piece this all together because they all are linked into one. Don't look at these as separate issues. Yes, these are separate terrorism incidents, but they all have a common link, and it's the intelligence services. And that's what I've been trying to tell you all along through these many videos I make. And so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not dismissing Perot's claims yet. I'm going to give it some legitimacy for now because what he's saying has some legitimacy. But the people who are behind Parrot, who are purporting a selective political bias, are basically not doing themselves any service by getting the wrong SEAL teams involved with the Bin Laden crash. The Bin Laden raid and the Chinook crash, which is quite nefarious in its own right, too. Basically, the Taliban knew about the Chinook operation. They knew that plane was coming, the helicopter was coming. In which I'll quote the Taliban commander Kahi Tahrir basically fed the U.S. forces false information about a meeting of insurgent leaders and fighters, and they waited for the helicopters inside the valley at both sides. And quote, the Taliban knew which route the helicopter would take. That's the only route. So they took positions on either side of the valley on mountains, and as the helicopter approached, they attacked it with rockets and other modern weapons. It was brought down by multiple shots, end quote. And according to some intelligence leanings and reports, that basically the helicopter was in a very dangerous area to begin with. It shouldn't have been there anyway, but they were trying to deliver reinforcements to the 75th Ranger Regiment, which was another special operations unit that was engaging in a night raid to capture and kill a senior Taliban leader. Anyway, leave that aside. But anyway, that's a different issue. But what I'm trying to tell you is basically, not to sound like a broken record, but just be careful about when you post information. Vet it, and like I said, leave your political and religious worldviews aside.